We're all patiently waiting for news on Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and so I wanted to go on ahead and do a bit of a pitch video for things that I hope to go on ahead and see. Keep in mind, this is just as much about me getting a chance to go on ahead and express my thoughts on the game and the things that I would like to see, as much as it is your chance to go on ahead and express your thoughts in the comments section below, because I think it'd be cool to go on ahead and collaborate on something like this as a community. First and foremost, let's talk about the villains. One of the things that kind of annoyed me in the previous Marvel Spider-Man games that I really hope gets addressed in this sequel is the fact that I want some of those villains like Vulture, like Electro, like Rhino, who didn't really get to do a whole lot in the game from a story perspective. I would love to see them showcased a bit more. Rhino did get to go on ahead and pop up a couple times and definitely played a much more prominent role in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. However, I still would love to see something almost similar to the mission chain that we had for Tombstone, where there were a handful of missions and you could go on ahead and go on this side quest with a relatively obscure villain and take them down, eventually culminating in an epic boss fight. I don't mind having these villains present in the main story. Of course, that makes perfect sense, but I also would love to see almost like a branching side quest that you could have for some of these villains that will be popping up within this game. Next, let's discuss the world, or the map, I guess, itself. Now, one thing that I've commonly heard is a bunch of people say, hey, we need a bigger map. We need the map to be bigger. We need more of the New York boroughs to be included. We need to be able to go on ahead and get across the bridges, so on and so forth. Give us Liberty Island, which I actually wouldn't mind because I think that would be a really, really cool feature to have, especially because it would almost let us away kind of to recreate moments from No Way Home. However, I am actually kind of against that idea. I don't mind the map being a little bit bigger. I do think that that makes perfect sense, of course, like I just mentioned, with places like Liberty Island, for example, appearing. But I personally would much rather that they would go deeper within the map itself. So what do I mean by that? I would love to be able to go on ahead and actually access some buildings. That's one of the things that we've seen in so many open world games, is that almost always the goal is to just keep zooming out and making the map bigger and bigger and bigger, instead of really kind of densifying or adding more things to do within the existing playground. I think that's a much healthier way to create a compelling world to spend your time in. So, for example, imagine if you could enter the Daily Bugle or the Oscorp building, or you could go on ahead and visit Peter's apartment at any point in time. And within the apartment, there could be some mini games, there could be some extra tasks, there could be a mission that unlocks specifically from there. I think that that's the way to make it feel bigger, quote unquote, without actually making the map much larger, because I really did not ever feel like the map was too small for me. I think that I am one of the people that does not really love the Assassin's Creed kind of model, where it's just make a giant map and that's what quote unquote makes it good. I don't really understand the idea of spending a bunch of time just traversing from point to point to point. I would much rather be able to go on ahead and dive deeper into the existing elements. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with that, because I think that will definitely be a bit of a controversial one. Next, let's talk about the transition from Peter to Miles. So we know that both of them are going to be included in this game. That obviously then went ahead and got everybody talking about, like, oh, are they going to do co-op? Is there going to be online gameplay? How are they going to transition you from character to character? To me, I really genuinely think that it will be very important to make sure that the transition from character to character is as seamless as possible, meaning that if I'm swinging through the city, whether it be one button input or maybe like holding down on the D-pad or something like that, Peter would tag out and Miles would come right in, swinging on in. Now, does that make sense for the entire story? Probably not, assuming that the story maybe requires at points maybe Peter is in trouble or Miles is in trouble and vice versa, so the other character needs to step up. So I understand that that won't be possible maybe at all points in the game, but I would love to be able to do that and transition from character to character seamlessly, at least in the post game, because I think that would make perfect sense. And last but certainly not least, the one thing that I also would love to see announced is DLC. And I know people are going to get upset already and say, how could you possibly be asking for DLC? You're basically encouraging developers to go on ahead and gate some content away from the game, etc. No, that's not what I'm saying, especially because I think you'd agree with me that there's not been any team out there that has really done as good of a job as Insomniac about going on ahead and releasing a game that feels like it's definitely worth your $60 And then after that, for months and months, in some cases over a year, continue to support the game with free suits that they went ahead and continued to make available. I know that there was obviously paid DLC as well for Spider-Man, but they did go on ahead and release a bunch of free stuff also. So what am I actually trying to say? Well, the point here is that one of the things that bums me out about games like Gotham Knights is that we don't really see an actual content plan. So we got that one update with Heroic Assault, but then beyond that, we don't know, like, okay, are they done with the game, or is there something else coming down the pipeline? Could they possibly at least hint at the idea like, hey, we have one more piece of content that will be coming, or something like that? It would be really cool to know that ahead of time. That way, when we're all playing Marvel Spider-Man 2, we know that once we've all wrapped up the adventure and we're replaying the story and having fun with it, there is still a set of adventures to come that will be released in, let's say, 6 months from the release of the game, or 8 months, or a year, whatever it might be, whatever time frame would be healthy for Insomniac to deliver on. I think that would be really, really awesome. I would love to know that, let's say, just like with Marvel's Spider-Man 1, there would be 3 episodes that we get to look forward to in the form of DLC, maybe dropping once every 8 months or so. I think that would be super duper exciting and awesome to look forward to. So there you have it. Those are kind of my wants from the game. Everything else I feel like is going to be very difficult to pinpoint, because the problem about discussing things like gameplay or things like maybe the actual story itself is that it's kind of useless, because we don't really know a whole lot yet about the game, unfortunately. As much as it feels like we've been talking about it for so long, it still is very vague as far as what the specifics of the game are. So I wanted to go on ahead and really select things that I felt like were broad enough but were applicable to a discussion like this. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I will hopefully get you guys here on the next one. Peace out. See you later, alligators.